Have you ever wondered how the war horn of Norfolk, Britain's buried battle cry, lay silent beneath the soil for over 1,000 years? Tonight we walk into the flat green country of Norfolk, in eastern England. The rivers here move slowly. The Wensum winds through reed and water meadow, the way it has for thousands of years. Mist sits low over the fields at dawn, and somewhere under that water, for most of the last 2,000 years, a voice was waiting. Not a human voice, a voice cast in bronze. The people who made it are long gone. Their language faded. Their names were never written down. But they left this behind, a great curved horn shaped to carry sound across a battlefield. We call these instruments carnices, and this one did not fall into the river by accident. That is the part that still unsettles the people who study it, because the evidence suggests it was placed there, carried to the water's edge, and given up on purpose. To understand why, we have to walk back to the hands that let it go. Walk with me, unhurried, and the field will open into another age. So let the field fade. Let the year fall back, past the motorways, past the cathedrals, past the Romans. We are in the Iron Age now, more than 2,000 years ago. It's evening in a settlement of round houses, their walls of woven timber and daub, their roofs steep with thatch. A single doorway glows. Inside, a fire burns low in a central hearth, and smoke drifts up through the dark thatch above. There is the smell of wood smoke and barley, of damp wool drying near the flames. Outside, cattle shift in their pens. A dog barks once, then settles. This is a farming world. Most people here spend their lives growing grain, keeping animals, working wool and iron. They will never travel more than a day's walk from where they were born. But they are not simple. Their smiths can do things with bronze that we still admire today. And one of those things is the horn. Beyond the doorway, the last light drains from a low grey sky, and the marsh breathes cold air off the water. These are the people the Romans would later call the Iceni. Norfolk was their heartland. They were tribes of the eastern flatlands, rich in horses, rich in cattle, rich in gold. Their coins have turned up in these fields by the thousands. Their world ran on kinship and on cattle, on feasting and on war. And war for them was not faceless. It was loud. It was personal. Before the fighting began, there was noise, shouting, the clash of iron on shield, and rising over all of it, a sound like nothing in nature. That sound came from the carnix. Picture it standing taller than a person, held straight up toward the sky, its long bronze tube ending in the open mouth of a beast. When it spoke, it did not sound like a trumpet. It brayed. It screamed. It was built to reach across a valley and put fear into whoever heard it coming. A single horn could speak for an entire army. Gold talks and fine harness show a people who love display, who dressed their horses as proudly as themselves. Consider what it took to make one. The Iron Age smiths of Britain had no factories, no drawings, no machines. And yet they could hammer sheet bronze thin as a coin and curve it into a tube longer than they were tall. The join runs clean along its length. The metal is worked so finely it still holds its shape after 2,000 years in the ground. The bell was often shaped into a head, a boar, or some open-jawed creature, snarling. Some carnices had a moving tongue set inside that mouth. When the player blew and the air rattled it, the beast seemed to shriek. This was not only an instrument, it was an animal made of metal, a god's voice given a throat. To an enemy who had never seen one, a row of these rising over the shields must have looked like the war beasts of another world, alive and screaming in the smoke. Around 100 players may once have raised them together, a wall of bronze mouths pointed at the sky. We know this because a few of them have survived. In 1816, on a farm at Leachestown in the northeast of Scotland, workers turned up a strange piece of bronze in the ground. It was the head of a carnix, a boar's head, its snout raised, made largely of brass. We call it the Deskford Carnix now, and for a long time it was the best-known example in the British Isles. Far to the south, in France, at a place called Tintignac, archaeologists uncovered something even richer, a pit packed with hundreds of pieces of metal. Among them were 7 carnices, one of them almost complete, buried together with swords and helmets and the shapes of animals. All across Iron Age Europe, from Scotland to central France, the same idea kept appearing. The same rising bronze throat, the same animal at its mouth. This was a shared language of sound and of fear. Together these finds tell us the Carnix was no local oddity, but a war voice known from the Atlantic to the Danube. Each one was a fortune in metal, and yet, again and again, they were given to the ground and the water. But here is what turns this from a battle story into a mystery. Almost none of these horns are found on battlefields. They are found in water, in bogs, in lakes, in slow rivers like the one in Norfolk. And they are rarely broken by accident. Often they were taken apart or bent or carefully laid down where no one could easily reach them again. In Ireland, a great bronze trumpet was lifted from a lake beside an ancient royal stronghold. The pattern is too consistent to be simple bad luck, so the people who study the Iron Age have come to read these watery burials the same way. Not as things dropped and lost, but as things given, offered, handed to the water on purpose, which raises the question that hangs over the horn from Norfolk. Why would you take an instrument built to be heard for miles and drown it in silence? Everything they gave the water, they gave forever, or so they believed. To understand it, we have to think the way they thought. For these people, water was not empty. Rivers, springs, and pools were seen as doorways, places where the everyday world touched something older and greater. You did not throw away your finest things there. You gave them. Swords, shields, cauldrons, gold, the best that human hands could make, were carried to the water as gifts. And of all those gifts, a Carnix was among the loudest a community owned. It had a voice. It had, in a sense, a breath. To give it to the river was to give up something that could speak. Historians still debate exactly what they meant by it. A gift to a god. A thank offering after a battle. A way of retiring a sacred object so no lesser hand could ever sound it again. We cannot read their minds, but we can read the pattern, and the pattern says this was chosen. And whatever the reason, the choice was made by people who valued this horn more than the gold it was worth. So picture the moment, evening at the edge of the marsh. The reeds are still, the water is dark and flat and cold. A small band comes down to the bank, carrying the horn between them. Maybe it has just sounded over a victory. Maybe its owner has died, and it is being sent on with him. Maybe a bargain is being kept with something unseen. They do not sell it. They do not melt it down, though the bronze alone is worth a fortune. They lower it into the water, and they let go. The surface closes over it. The last sound it will make for 2,000 years is the small slap of water against the bank. Then they turn and walk back toward the firelight. Behind them, the horn begins its long descent into the silt, where the cold and the mud will hold it, and preserve it, and keep it hidden. The ripples widen, reach the reeds, and are gone, and the marsh keeps its face perfectly still. Now let the years begin to move again. The world that made the horn does not last. In the 1st century, Rome comes to Britain. The Iceni of Norfolk rise against it, most famously under their queen Boudica around the year 60. For a moment they burn Roman towns and shake the whole province. Then the legions answer, and the rising is crushed. The old tribal world starts to dissolve into a Roman one. Roads are laid, towns are built in stone. The Romans knew the Carnix well. They had heard it screaming at them in Gaul and in Britain, and they carved its shape onto their monuments as a trophy of the peoples they had beaten. But as a living voice on this land, it fades. the smiths who could make it grow old, the reasons to sound it slip away. And in the river, unheard, the horn keeps its place in the dark. The Iceni faded into memory, then into a name in a Roman book, and the fields grew quiet over their hearths. And now the years pour by like the river itself. Above the water, everything changes. The Romans leave. New peoples arrive from across the sea and give this country its language. Churches rise. The great cathedral goes up at Norwich, a few miles downstream. Wool makes the county rich. Villages come and go. Windmills turn and fall still. Kings are crowned and buried. All of it happens in the light and the air, in the ordinary noise of living. And through every year of it, the horn lies under the silt, exactly where it was set down. No one remembers it. No one is looking for it. The water simply keeps moving over the place, season after season, flood after flood, laying down mud, sealing it deeper. 2,000 winters pass above a thing built to be heard, and it is not heard. That, perhaps, was the whole point of setting it there. Generation after generation walked the banks above it, never once suspecting what the mud below them held. From high above, the country the horn came from looks almost the same as it always did. Flat, green, threaded with slow, shining rivers. The Wensum still winds through Norfolk the way it did when the reeds first closed over the bronze. And that patience, in the end, is what gave the horn back. Because a river is never truly still. It shifts its banks, it cuts and it fills. It works at its own bed, a single grain at a time. What the water swallowed, the water can also carry and lift, and finally surrender. So the very act meant to silence the horn forever, hiding it in the deep, is the very thing that protected it, whole and unbroken, until the day the mud finally released its grip. The offering was meant to be permanent. The river, it turned out, had other plans. A river forgets nothing and hurries at nothing. It simply waits and moves, and one day gives its gift back. And so it came back, lifted from the wet dark into open air for the first time in 2,000 years. A curved length of bronze, green and gold with age, its beast's mouth still open. And here is the strange thing the experts found. It was barely damaged, so well preserved that, cleaned and mended, an instrument like it can still be blown. The voice they tried to bury forever is still in there, waiting. Only 3 of these horns have ever been found in the whole of Britain, which is part of why each one matters so much. Think about what that means. Someone, 20 centuries ago, gave this away to the water precisely so it would never sound again. And the river kept it so perfectly that it can. They drowned a voice, and the water saved it instead. A horn silenced on purpose, kept whole by the very silence meant to end it, and now able to sound again. Bronze that old should be a ruin of rot and green crust, yet this one kept its shape, its curve, its cruel open mouth. So that is the war horn of Norfolk, a battle cry that lay silent beneath the soil exactly as its makers wished, and then didn't. Tonight it rests again, under glass instead of water, cared for, studied, quiet. Outside, the mist still settles over the flat fields at dawn. The Wensum still moves, slow and dark, over the place it hid its secret for so long. And somewhere in that green and level country, the ground still holds what no one has yet thought to look for. The horn waited 2,000 years to be heard. It can afford to wait a little longer. The river is patient, and it remembers everything. Under the same low sky, the same slow water, the story simply rests where it began.